Hey there, rednecks, preppies, redneck preppies. It's me, the Redneck Preppy. How you doing today? Great? Good. Just a friendly reminder that the Redneck Preppy is also on Rumble and Odyssey. Links to both platforms are in the description below. We're back with this channel's insanely popular series testing vintage rimfire ammunition, and today we got a treat. Communist block ammunition, but good commie block ammunition. Well, hopefully. Today on the docket we have Sellier Bellot's REX ammunition in 22 long rifle. Now, SMB manufactures 22 long rifle ammunition today, but their REX line was discontinued some years back. Now, I managed to procure 10 boxes of REX that dates back to 1970. So we're talking 55-year-old ammunition. In my research, I found varying opinions on the quality. Some people stated that it shot poorly, others praised it for its accuracy. Well, I'm going to give this every chance to succeed, and what better way than to shoot Czechoslovakian ammunition than through a Czech rifle. In this case, my CZ457 Varmint MTR. I hope this stuff shoots well, because I own a brick of this now. Before the shooting, let's get into a box and see what we have. Czechoslovakia tended to do things differently than the rest of the comm bloc, so we shouldn't be surprised that they eschewed the utilitarian packaging that the Sovs preferred and went with something colorful. Top side of the box, we got the REX name for this ammunition and what appears to be a thing with comm bloc rimfire ammo. A note that these are non-corrosive rounds. Now, naroxen, despite sounding like some kind of nerve gas, is actually SMB's priming compound for, among other cartridges, their rimfire rounds. The rest of the box doesn't have much going on, mostly repeating that it's 22 long rifle and naroxen primed, that it is manufactured by SNB, which is headquartered in Praha, or Prague for us English speakers. On the bottom, we got ourselves a serial number, or something. I'm not sure exactly what it is, because it's so faded I can't actually even read it. Pity. On the inside, on both flaps, we have some sort of numbers, and I don't know if these are like lot numbers or serial numbers or date codes. Inside, not surprisingly, we're looking at all paper packaging, as was the style at the time. I'm told that SMB didn't switch to plastic holders until the early 1980s, at least for rimfire. And as for the ammunition itself, it is brass cased, which is an improvement over that Soviet steel case 22 long rifle I attempted to shoot a few months back. The head stamp does say REX appropriately enough. Now, as for lube, I don't know how wet this stuff was back in the day, but it's fairly dry and slightly whitish now. I did break down a round, and with a sample size of 1, you can draw what conclusions you want from it. The bullet weighed 38.8 grains, and the case contained 1.3 grains of powder. The priming compound was grayish white and spread in a circle around the outside of the case head, with the middle of the head free of any compound. And there you are, a close look at S&B REX from 1970. Now let's find out how this stuff shoots. If you've watched previous episodes in this slowly growing series of vintage rimfire tests, you probably know how this is going to work, so I'm going to keep this brief. We're going to shoot this ammunition at 50 yards and chronograph all the shots so that we have velocity and consistency data. We're going to stick to 50 yards today because I have no idea how this stuff is going to shoot. So I'll save the 100-yard test for another day if I think there's a promise of good results there. I'm going to shoot 10 sighters to warm up and season the barrel, and afterwards we're going to shoot 90 rounds in 5-shot groups. Well, hopefully anyway, because if you've seen previous episodes, you know that can occasionally be a challenge. Afterwards, we'll look at all of the data. Let's get to it. Just to get it out of the way, the weather conditions were fantastic for shooting the day I did this test. The temperature was 15 degrees Celsius or 60 degrees Fahrenheit. The wind was officially at 16 kilometers an hour or 10 miles an hour from the south-southeast, though I would say that there was a light breeze at best, and the humidity was 80%, so environmental factors were not a variable. Unfortunately, that was about the best thing about the test. Well, that and all the ammunition actually chambered and extracted without issue. Something that I can't say about the old Soviet and Illy ammunition that I previously tested. Pretty quickly, I had the feeling that Rex wasn't going to shoot well due to the wide swings in velocity that my chronograph measured. It shot fast, with an average velocity of 1177.5 feet per second, which is the fastest ammunition I've ever measured out of my CZ457. I'm not sure what Rex originally shot at. I've heard as slow as 1050 feet per second to as fast as 1260 feet per second for stuff of my vintage. Perhaps more problematic, though, were the consistency metrics. The extreme spread was a crazy 148.4 feet per second. Now that does include the cold bore shot, but even removing it would not change that number appreciably. And the standard deviation was a god-awful 20.9. From shot to shot, I could see velocities that varied as much as 50 feet per second. And at 50 yards, you could see the effect of that. At 100 yards and further, I think this stuff would just be horrible. But the tale is best told in the actual groups shot. As you can see by the target that I shot at, there were perhaps 2 decent groups. The average group size was 0.818 inches, which translates into an average across all groups of 1.562 MOA. Those numbers are roughly twice as much as I generally shoot with this rifle with ammunition that my rifle likes, and they're among the worst numbers I've ever shot with this rifle. I had hoped that the accuracy would gradually improve as I kept shooting, for reasons I can't actually explain, but as you can see from this graph, SMB Rex was consistently meh. So to summarize, the ammunition was very inconsistent with its velocities and shot groups that I'd honestly expect with bulk ammunition. Okay, so how did 1970 vintage Sellier Bellot REX ammunition fare in 2025? Well, considering that this ammunition is over 5 decades old with an unknown storage history, and let's face it, rimfire is sensitive when it comes to long-term storage, I'd say that it's mediocre at best. If you remove the variable of age from rimfire ammunition, it's no secret that some rifles like some kind of ammunition more than others, and this stuff may shoot very well in another rifle. I just know that it shot poorly in mine. So would I recommend buying this if you come across it? I wouldn't call this stuff particularly rare, and you may come across it in your local gun store or an online auction. And if you do buy it, I honestly would not pay more than a few dollars per box. Given that old rimfire ammunition usually has an unknown history which could affect its performance, which may have been a factor today, even the stuff that generally has a good reputation could be a bum in your rifle. So there is no reason to overpay for the novelty of age. So if you can get this cheap and want to use it for plinking ammunition, in honesty, I paid less than CCI standard velocity costs for a similar amount of rounds, then sure. But I wouldn't expect too much from it. You may get a pleasant surprise, but I think you can do better though. At any rate, I hope you found today's video at least be vaguely entertaining and mildly informative. As always, I hope your trips to the range are fun and productive. Take care, and bye-bye.